Splatoon Raiders was revealed back in June and we still know nothing about it. So before we get another trailer and know more about this game, I want to go through everything I want to see in this brand new spin-off. I am a Splatoon speedrunner, but also a fan of the franchise, so a lot of my wishes won't make a lot of sense to many of you, and that's okay. I feel like my perspective will be new and fresh. This is the first ever Splatoon spin-off, so there's so much potential for this to be an amazing speedrun, and that's what I want out of this game. But feel free to share your wishes for Splatoon Raiders in the comments, and I might make another video going over your suggestions. The only glimpse of gameplay that we've seen is a short clip of the mechanic running alongside a robot. Not a lot of information to go on, but I think a great place to start is, what type of gameplay loop will Raiders go for? I think it's either one of two options. Either it'll be another roguelike or something brand new. Splatoon single player campaigns like to do things in twos. Splatoon 1 and 2 have very similar single player offerings, each level being a straightforward get to A to B experience. Octo Expansion and Splatoon 3 decided to go for a different approach with clear conditions. This is where you have a goal like guiding an 8-ball, destroying boxes, or getting to the end of a level. Side Order was a roguelike, something completely new for the series. I enjoyed what Side Order had, but I don't feel like I was the only one who thought, that's it. I've been of the opinion that Side Order feels like a demo for a full-on Splatoon roguelike, one where it doesn't have the restrictions of being DLC for a main Splatoon game and has the opportunity to do so much more. More bosses, more levels, more weapons, more upgrades, a game that I could see being infinitely more replayable, and Raiders could be that. It's a standalone full spin-off of Splatoon. Now would be the perfect time to explore all the interesting things that you could do with a roguelike and flesh it out. I could totally see the rafts from the trailer being a home base of sorts. Then we could ask Big Man to take us to the island to start our run. Then we can explore the island and get upgrades that we could use on the robot or our weapons. As a casual fan of the series, this would be pretty sick, but as a speedrunner, I really don't want this to happen. I'm someone who enjoys doing 80% speedruns of Splatoon, 80% being where you beat the game as fast as possible. I will give props to Side Order for being a great and accessible game for beginner speedrunners for New Game Plus runs, but that's not what I care about. I feel like there's another path Raiders could go down that not only fits thematically, but would also make it an amazing speedrun. What if Raiders was a Metroidvania? You're stuck on this island with basically nothing, so it would make sense that while exploring, you could find upgrades to your character or the robot. Metroidvanias are well known for their amazing stories and brilliant speedruns, so for this video, I'll pitch my ideas with Raiders being a Metroidvania in mind. So how would a Splatoon Metroidvania work? Well, we can ditch the idea of individual levels and instead have a big explorable world. We know that our protagonist is a mechanic, so we can have tools and parts scattered around the islands as potential upgrades. Wait, did I say islands? Well, I think it'd be really cool if there were multiple islands to explore and raid. I think there should be 3 islands, as we can see from the beginning of the trailer. A grassy, volcanic, and snowy island. On each island, there will be a boss that you can challenge. After you beat one, you can get an upgrade to the boat and you can travel to the next island. After you beat the boss on all 3 islands, the boat will be powerful enough to leave and get back to civilization. Perhaps there could be a final boss battle on the boat on your way back. That would be pretty cool. A big issue with how each Splatoon game evolves is the fundamental gameplay. Between Splatoon 1 and 3, there were only 2 things added to your general movement: squid rolls and squid surges. And I'd argue that squid roll was the only one that had an impact. But here in Raiders, we can add new gameplay mechanics as upgrades that you can find on the island. I really like the glide from the Pearl drone in Side Order, so what if we could find something to upgrade this propeller to let us glide with it? This will allow us to get to new places. What if we could get an upgrade to our robot to turn it into a mini submarine, and now we can do ocean travel? You could have an enhanced squid surge and roll to be able to get to places you previously couldn't. And as a speedrunner, any form of movement upgrade would be amazing. Something like a dually dodge roll that carries momentum would be stellar. That's only the beginning of upgrades that could be in the game. I'm sure the devs could create way more cool and unique ideas. But that's only big game-changing upgrades. How about smaller things? I want customizable weapons. I know this is a very textbook basic prediction, but come on, this would be amazing. Imagine we start the game and we have a basic splatter shot. That's cool. During our search on the islands, we can find little upgrade items that we can use on it to make it our own. Kinda like the color chips from Side Order. But after completing a rather difficult challenge or mini boss, you can find the schematic for the roller. Now we can take those upgrade items and use them on both the splatter shot and the roller to create our own version of these weapons. Maybe you want to focus on damage per second on your splatter shot, or maybe you want a giant vertical flick on your roller. The schematics for every main class can be found around the island, so every playstyle is accounted for. We see a little splatter shot peeking out of a canister in the mechanic's ink tank. Maybe we have our main weapon and another weapon in reserve. One thing that I think has been lacking in recent campaigns is the level design. Off the top of my head, I can only really think of one or two interesting level designs each from both Splatoon 3 and Side Order, whereas I can think of multiple from Octo Expansion and Splatoon 1. I know this will be way harder to do with the Metroidvania style I'm going for with this game, but I hope that Raiders has unique and interesting platform challenges. I'm sure this wouldn't be an issue with this style, as they can easily design unique solutions to platforming problems with the upgrades. One of the greatest feelings in a game is when you can find a way to cheese it. I can definitely imagine someone struggling with a platforming challenge up a mountain, while someone else got the extra squid surge ability and was able to clear it with ease, while that same person struggles later on with another challenge. I think this would work great if the game was designed so that you could beat every possible challenge with the worst upgrades, them only being there to make it more fun. The routing possibilities for speedruns would be amazing. But that's all island stuff. How about Deep Cut? From what we saw in the trailer, they were just sitting on the raft doing nothing. Well, Shiver was fishing, so that was pretty hype. I'll be real, this was the hardest part to theorize about, but this is what I came up with. Each member of Deep Cut should have a gameplay purpose, but the only one I could come up with an idea for is Big Man. He'll be able to take you back to the raft at any time. He's the only one that can swim, and he has a little radio there to communicate with us. If you have any ideas of what Shiver or Fry could do to help with the player gameplay wise, leave it in the comments. One last thing before I move on to the lore stuff is, will this game have multiplayer? I know this sounds like a stupid question. It's stated to be a Splatoon spin-off game. It's obviously going to be single player only, but we don't actually know that for sure. We're all just assuming. Splatoon is Nintendo's premier online multiplayer game, so it wouldn't be too far-fetched to think that Raiders will have something. I don't care, I don't want it. And it's for a reason none of you are thinking about. I want multiple save files in Splatoon Raiders. The only reason Splatoon doesn't have multiple save files is because it's all online, so you can't have multiple saves on one user. This sucks for speedrunners because if you lose a run, you have to delete the save and go back in and go through the intro of the game all over again. Or you have multiple users, and once you lose a run with one user, you can go to the next user and have to go through the intro all over again before your next attempt. Or you could spend several minutes before each speedrun session preparing each user to be speedrun ready by going through the intro of the game all over again on all your users, just so when it's time for a session of attempts you can do quick resets from user to user. But once you run out of users, you either have to just stop doing runs that day and set everything up again before your next session, or you delete all your saves and keep going. For every game other than Splatoon 1, it takes well over 3 minutes to get to the point where you can start your next speedrun. I've probably lost more than 5 hours of my life doing these resets, and I've only been running the series for less than a year. Think about the people who have been doing it for several years. I look at nearly every other speed game and they can just start attempts near instantly after losing a run. I will happily remove all potential multiplayer modes from this game if it means I can get multiple save files on one user. Also, let us skip cutscenes please and thank you. That is the end of my gameplay section. You'll notice that this is the majority of the video because it's what I have the most to say. So sit back and relax while I try and do Splatoon lore while pretending to know what I'm talking about. I'm not one who cares for Splatoon lore that much, but I still think it should matter. The lore people need to hyperfixate on something new. So who do I think will be the antagonist for Raiders? The only glimpse that we have is an eye at the end of the trailer, so I'll go out on a limb here and say they'll be the Salmonids of some sort. Maybe it won't be the exact salmoners that we've been facing in Salmon Run, maybe like their distant cousins or something. The main colors of the Raiders logo are orange and green, colors often associated with Salmon Run, so I don't think this idea will be too far-fetched. Also, I really want the final boss to be a Kraken, mainly for my idea of the final boss taking place while you're on the boat traveling back to society. One thing that Splatoon campaigns often do is have the final boss only be foreshadowed and then show up at the very end. It ends up making the fight underwhelming. The one time that they didn't do this was in Octo expansion, and guess which campaign has the best story out of all of them? So I want the devs to follow a similar path to what they did in Octo expansion. Make the antagonist a part of the story more so that when it comes time for the final fight, it feels more personal. As for Deep Cut, come on man, flesh out those characters. There were side characters in Alterna that barely showed up. You could have replaced Deep Cut with any other random enemy and they would have done the same role. But now that they have an entire game all to them, I can't wait to see how they expand on these characters, as I genuinely believe that they're the most interesting idols out of the 3 that we have. And that is everything I want for Splatoon Raiders. Will all of this come true? Probably not. We only have a short trailer for now, so I can't wait to see more of this game. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more Raiders content when it comes out, the subscribe button is down below. And if you want to see the funniest cheated Splatoon speedrun, then click this video right here.